We didn't do it. We lost nationals. So I've had a long history of not winning nationals. In 2019, I came in second. In 2020, I came in second. In 2021, I came in third. In 2022, I came in second. And now this year, 2023, I came in third again. I was definitely looking to win this year, but it didn't quite happen. So let's see how it all played out. So like I said, I've been on the podium many, many times at nationals, but I have yet to actually win it. So this year, and I think I did this last year as well, but this year I decided to take a few weeks to really try to peak for the event. Now, nationals is in the end of November, which is completely in the middle of an off season. Now, the on season for me is the World Cup season, so the World Cup boulder season. So for this year, it spans from April to like September or October. Usually it's just April to June. So yeah, this year I'm definitely peaking for April and on. So November 23rd is kind of in the middle of the off season. So with that said, I decided to do a little bit of a peak to make sure that I wasn't too tired from my training and ready to go perform at a national event. So when I peaked for this event, I spent, I think, 1 or 2 weeks really lowering my training volume. Now, when I'm in a really good off-season flow, I'll have really high volume. I'll be doing 2 or 3 sessions a day. I'll be working out probably 4 times a week, and my reps are really high, so I'm really tired every day. And my climbing volume is really high, so I'm doing really like longer sessions. I usually don't go over 2 hours, but I'm climbing for quite a while. And before a competition like this, like a national that I'm trying to peak for, I basically skip to the very last week of my long peak. So if I'm peaking for April for the first World Cup of the season, I'll spend probably a month and a half tapering my training volume and increasing my weight on my exercises and decreasing the reps. So for nationals, because I don't want to spend 2 months preparing for it, because that would actually be quite invasive and would probably put me off target for my World Cup season, I spent 2 weeks doing low volume training. So my whole training week completely transformed from what it used to be. I went and I did 2 on, 1 off for the whole week, which is, I was doing, I think, 3 on, 1 off at the time. And my sessions, basically, I took almost 70% of the length off. So I was doing, 20 or 30-minute sessions every day. And I do really, really short bouts of high-intensity bouldering and some really, really heavy reps, but like 1 or 2 reps at a time. So that was basically the whole week. I was just kind of rinsing, repeating, making sure my body was ready to be powerful and ready to pull hard. So, for example, my last session, right before I got on the plane to go to Vancouver, I actually had a 10-minute session at the gym. So I basically warmed up. I got on a really hard boulder, and I think I made 1 new move on it that I hadn't done before. But 10 minutes only gets you like 3 or 4 attempts. So that was my very last session. 10 minutes. I was in the gym probably 20 minutes that day. So that brings us to qualifiers, of course. This is the last boulder I did of the day. It's women's 3. So I started on 4, 5, 6, and then I did 1, 2, 3. And I had about 2 hours between those 2 sessions. So you just saw me take my second fall of the day. So I had flashed almost everything. It's actually funny. I fell on the first boulder and the last boulder, and both times were at the start of the boulder. So it was kind of a weird round, but I was doing really, really well. I was really psyched to get a bunch of flashes. And but this one, I feel like it was the last boulder, and I slipped on it because I think I was just too used to flashing, so I wasn't paying enough attention to it. That left me in a really good position for semifinals. So going into semifinals, I was in first place, and I've never actually qualified for a semifinal in first place before, so that was really exciting. The closest I've ever gotten was back in 2019 where Alana, Yip, and I both flashed every boulder except I missed the last. I didn't flash the last boulder, which was actually the easiest boulder of the round. But I was so nervous after having flashed almost all the boulders, and she had done them too, and it was I was so aware of the whole situation that I was just too distracted, and I fell on the easy boulder. But that was the only time, and I qualified in second that event. So yeah, first place into semis was a really cool feeling. I went out last, which meant I got to hear all the sends and all the crowd in semis. So it can make me nervous a bit, but I was very, very confident going into semifinals. So, and the semifinals is also known as the hard round. So I know that there's not going to be a lot of tops, which is, I find that's when I excel more. I find the pressure of knowing people have flashed things really does get to me. So I like going into kind of a clean slate on the boulder where there's not many sends, not many zones. So that said, I think for boulder 1 had 2 tops, and then this one, I can't remember. This one had probably the most tops of the round. But yeah, the beginning of this boulder was actually quite difficult. These blue volumes I'm stepping on are actually 20% dual techs. So the friction isn't very good. You put your feet on it and you start kind of slipping as you're standing on it. So it took a few attempts out of me. And at first I was kind of frustrated because I thought, my first instinct was these volumes suck. They were really slippery and whatever. But then I thought this was probably made on purpose. This was probably meant to be slightly dual techs because that's just the way of comp climbing these days. So I guess the volumes are also becoming slightly more dual techs. So while not being 100% dual techs, they were definitely kind of frustrating to stand on because you do slip a lot. So this third boulder here was probably my favorite of the competition. I've been working on a move like this a lot recently. Just my paddles are just constantly on my mind. And this boulder was similar to one I saw at Boulderveld, Frankfurt, a couple weeks ago. The idea is you kind of hit the right hand, then you swing to the left a bit, and then you match, and then you move the right hand over to get the paddle. And so when I was in Frankfurt, I actually didn't stick it. And so when I saw this boulder, I was partially motivated to do it because I had been practicing it, but at the same time, I hadn't stuck the one at Frankfurt, so I wasn't sure how good I was at it. But I did end up actually sticking this, and this ended up being the only zone of the round on this boulder, so this put me right away in first place. So I was really psyched, and you could tell the audience was so excited when I stuck it. I could tell that they hadn't seen anyone do it before. And since I was the last athlete out in semifinals, it was kind of an extra cool feeling. So I was really excited to get that zone there. So going into Boulder 4, I actually knew I was already in finals. Based on the crowd, based on the difficulty of the boulders. At this point, I've been doing nationals so many times that I know the field very, very well. And based on the boulders and based on the crowd and all sorts of factors, I have an intuition that I've already made finals. Now, I think I needed zone here to be in first, but I was certainly in second or third based on that zone, especially the zone on number 3. So with that in my mind, I knew I didn't need this boulder, but because I was the last athlete out, I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna try it. I'm maybe trying about 80% as hard as I could. Maybe I was being a little careful, trying not to be too dynamic. The aim here is I'm trying not to waste too much energy going into the final round now. So I'm trying not to waste skin, and I'm trying not to get my body sore at all. So yes, I'm trying this boulder, and this actually ended up being pretty tricky. But I definitely didn't. I didn't need the top here. I wasn't really looking for a top. If anything, I just wanted the zone, and then I was good. This was actually the case a couple years ago in qualifiers at nationals. I flashed the first 5 boulders, and because it was the same format as this year, I actually knew the scores of everyone. So I knew that you only needed, I think, 4 or 3 tops to get into finals or semifinals. So I actually didn't even attempt the final boulder. They called my name to do boulder 6, and I didn't even get out of my chair. And it's a bit of a weird thing to do. It's a little bit maybe I might come across as overly confident, but I'm the goal of a semifinal or a qualifier round for me, especially at nationals. In fact, I'd say probably only at nationals, is that I just need to get to the next round. So that's exactly what I did here. I'm just, I got the zone, so I put one more attempt on just for the crowd, but I was happy with my final. So I was first place going into finals again, which is super cool. I think the only year I've even gotten close to going into a final round in first place was 2020 when I was second. So it's a really cool feeling to be coming out last in a national final. It adds a little pressure though, because you can always hear the athletes before you, because the crowd is extra loud during finals. So I could tell that this first boulder, for example, was getting a lot of tops. So that just added on, like piled on the pressure to get a good send of it, and better yet, like a flash of it. So yeah, boulder one was pretty good, and then boulder two was where my first kind of bigger mistake happened. So national finals are a lot different than IFSC competitions, because it's not about to win. It's not about getting on every hard boulder and just doing it as well as you can at it. In nationals, small mistakes really do make the difference between first and even third place. So you can see, for example, on this boulder, I have my left foot on the right of the two little foot chips. Now, this may seem like not a big deal, but it actually, as soon as you put your foot there, you are stuck. So you can see, like, I try to sneak my foot around, maybe I can get the match, but no, this boulder was made in one specific way, and that was to put your left foot on the left of the two foot chips. So, of course, as soon as I'm on this boulder, I'm trying to figure out the end, I realize my mistake. I try to fix it, of course, like I'm not just going to jump off the boulder, that's not my style, but it does not go like this. Or if it does, it's extremely hard and it takes more than 3 attempts. So you can see, here's my second attempt, I'm ready to go fix my mistake. And then, for whatever reason, I decide to make the same mistake again. Now, like in this exact moment, I'm like, oh, I just made the exact same mistake again. And like I said, there's no coming back from it. So I just wasted one more attempt. Now, as it turned out, I think the girls who came in first and second both fixed their mistake right away and were able to get their left foot on the left of the two chips on their second attempt. Now, because I took this attempt here, I made the mistake one more time. I actually put myself into third place, and that ended up being quite the detrimental mistake. And this is, again, that highlights the difference between the IFSC comps and the national comps. So at nationals, you can almost expect 1 or 2 softer boulders, which leaves less room for the harder boulders. It leaves less room for you to be able to pull ahead with harder boulders. So in this final, there weren't enough harder boulders in my future to pull ahead from this mistake. So falling into third place here on this boulder actually kept me in third place for the rest of the round, unfortunately. So that said, I actually technically did have one more opportunity on a hard boulder to pull ahead from this mistake, but unfortunately it was too hard. So the final boulder of this round was a paddle, and I was confident, I could do it. Like I was really motivated to do it, but it was just a little bit too hard. So no one actually got a zone on it. So the boulder kind of didn't really count towards the round. So it was really just about boulder 2 and boulder 3. And so here we are on boulder 3. And so here I actually had the opportunity to come in second if I topped this boulder. But unfortunately I couldn't get the top on it. I'd seen this kind of move before. Like, you probably recognize this from the World Cup season. It's a very popular move now. So you just, in this version of it, you just place your hands on these 2 dual techs, and then you just pop up, and then you land kind of with your hands or your arms straight. So it actually took me a few attempts to really get it. I think the setter was saying that it's a little bit easier to go backwards, but I was really feeling the forwards, and there were some screw holes you can kind of place your thumbs in to stabilize before you jumped up for it. So I knew it was going to go, but this version that I had here was it took a little bit more leg power to get up, so it's a little bit harder, unfortunately. But you can see on this attempt here, I actually do get it, and this, honestly, if there's anything to be kind of disappointed in, it's this boulder right here. I kind of popped up for it. I wasn't focusing enough. I should have maybe gone static, and I missed it. I overshot it. And then I had about 30 seconds left. I got on one more time because I was kind of panicking. I was like, oh, shoot, like I definitely need that boulder, this boulder here. So I put one more attempt on it, but I'm so distracted by the situation and everything, I just can't get back up there again. So going into this 4th boulder here, this is the really hard one that no one was able to zone on. And like I definitely thought I could do it. Like I had sent that paddle in semifinals, and I was feeling pretty confident with my paddle skills. But this one was just like 5% too hard. There were some attempts that were very, very close, and but yeah, unfortunately, if I did get the zone on this, if I topped it, it would have been first place. But it was just so hard. Now, you can see some of these attempts are really close. I think the attempt you're about to see is my closest. I get a lot of purchase on it, but yeah, I can't stick that second hold. And I actually am losing a lot of skin. I'm actively bleeding at this point, and I'm just hiding my hands in the chalk after every attempt. But yeah, that was the final round. Congratulations to Amelia and Anna for taking first and second place. Like I said, it's really hard to win Open Nationals, so, and you know, I've never been able to do it, so it's really impressive to be able to perform with such a very specific round with lots of room for error. I really do love showing up to nationals. I think it's a really important and impressive event to show up for as a Canadian national team athlete, not only for the climbing community, but just personally. You know, if you're, you know, a competitive climber in Canada, nationals is where you go to, you know, prove it and show off your hard work in front of the country. So I'll definitely be back next year. Although I'm not ecstatic with third place, I am happy to always have the opportunity to go win nationals every year. And, you know, I'm hopeful that I'll continue having these opportunities, and one of the times I will eventually take first place. I'll be back.